All right, so there's a last thing, couple things here we want to talk about. We're going to have one more video after this. Is that, if you're going through everything we've talked about so far, and you've watched all the videos that I've asked you to watch, you've watched all the videos in this series, and you're still having issues with what's going on in the microphone, another huge resource is building your own microphone resources. There are tons of them on the internet. If once you understand the things we've talked about and some of the principles of sound that we've talked about, and watch those videos that I showed you on actual audio engineering, and just messing around in there trying to get some understanding of what's happening with some of those things, that you should be able to go into some of these sites and know if you're looking at something that's ridiculous, judge, whether or not the guy is actually teaching you how to build a microphone. And you can get a lot of information in there. You can actually go to any one of these sites and you can actually look, at the instruction on building these microphones that they've set up for you. That, sometimes you'll go to him and you'll get to this one and he's trying to build a microphone out of a matchbox. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure that you want to spend too much time on that one, maybe for fun. But you go to some other ones and this looks like an actual microphone here. I mean, it looks like one, all right? I mean, it looks pretty much like a microphone. I'm not sure how the quality is. But, no major electronic or mechanical knowledge is required. Everything is explained and illustrated. So, you get schematics, perforation boards, the whole breakdown of the entire thing. So, and a lot of these sites can do this. You can get out there and get all kinds of information, that can really help deepen your understanding of what's going on in the microphone. Because, everything that we've talked about so far, a deeper understanding and actually looking at some of these things, the schematics, how they're putting them together, the tolerances, the components, the materials, all that kind of stuff. Just spending a little bit of time, even if you just spend a couple weekends digging around on it, or even a weekend, a good long, and even a weekend digging around on it might give you a lot better understanding of what's happening and a lot of the things that we've talked about. So it's a huge resource. The other resource I was going to point out here is LT Spice. This is LT Spice, and you can download it for free, and you can build your own, you can build your own circuits with this. And, it's a really cool thing because you can actually download circuits from the internet for mic circuits that we've looked at, and you can download them, take a look at them, and actually build them in this to get a better understanding of what's happening with them. Does that make sense? And also, there's another one here that's called Live Spice. And you can actually download some of those circuits that's for your microphone, and you can actually build it on this. And the cool thing about this one is it has input and output. You can actually hook your DAW up to this, into where you can have the input going in, testing your microphone through this circuit, and how you might change that circuit to change the frequency response, or all kinds of different things, and or test what's going on in other microphones. It's actually set up, you can make like stomp boxes in this. You could make a distortion pedal in this, actually run it in your DAW, and then you can actually build it, you'd have to build a GUI and all that kind of stuff, but you can actually build it inside of this thing, so, and you can run it through it. You can plug your guitar into this and check out and see what's going on. Or you can plug your mic in and see what different things are happening. Does that make sense? Or put different ones in there, different schematics to see what's happening in there and why they're being put together that way. So that can be a huge resource. The other thing is there's another one here that's called iCircuit. Now this one, I can't remember what it costs, not much, but you can order this. Well, for some reason not open right now. I just got an update on my antivirus, so everything's a virus now for a week, right? So anyway, but it's like, all that stuff is huge knowledge base for you to check out. And you've seen that we could get on there looking at mics and find all kinds of schematics for circuits and all kinds of things that you can test with some of those things. And also this REW that we talked about, you can actually plug your microphone into this, test the system. Does that make sense? So just like when you're testing an electrical system or electrical circuit, you can test the microphone with this thing to find out what's going on inside of it. And not only that, is you can test the SPLs and the phase, the distortion, what's going on with the impulse itself, impulse response, frequency responses, all that kind of stuff, the Ks on it, the waterfall effect, you see it from a waterfall or a spectrogram, to look at those different aspects of the microphone and what's happening with it. And not only that, is you can test it with your voice. You can actually test it with clean sine waves, and you can test it yourself from different distances for your mic placement and all kinds of different things, and actually record it with this piece of software to see what might be different, so that you can compare with what's going on with your ear and see it with your eyes. Because sometimes I always say that your ear is the most important tool in the studio, but your eyes are right behind it. Because sometimes, I'll be listening to things and I'll be going, well, I think that sounds like that, but I ain't really sure what the difference is. And sometimes it pulls, I got to break something out and say, okay, what the heck's going on there? Because something doesn't sound right there, but I'm not quite catching what it is. And there's been some times, when you're really getting into really detailed frequency work or impulse response work, that you might not be catching exactly what's happening. So this is a huge tool to test your equipment, test your distances, placements, what's happening in the circuitry, and experiment with the circuitry. And you can go in there and see what's going on with building the microphone to help you understand what's going on there better. And you can also test all these things with these free, things. So, I did another video series that was on, what was it called? I did another video series that was on sound analysis. That there's a bunch of free tools for you for sound analysis, all types of sound analysis that were all free tools for you to pull out and test your microphone and see what's going on, and or your placements and all the aspects that we talked about. So those are some huge tools that I want you to go check out, and take a look around on, because they'll most definitely help you in the understanding that in the level that you want to understand of what's happening. Because you'll find out that a lot of these things that you run into and you start experimenting with will be a whole lot more help to you than what Bob says. Because Bob's telling you to do something, or Ralph's telling you to do something, but you kind of understand why, but you're not an audio engineer and you haven't been working in a studio for 30 years, so you really don't understand what's going on there. So, just like a brain surgeon, that, learn what we're talking about, and you might not have all that experience that Bob and Ralph have, but you have the knowledge base. Does that make sense? So you basically are pretty close to going in and going to work. Does that make sense? Because you've got what's going on in that, with that piece of equipment and that instrument in your head, but your experience of it might be lacking. And, how you make up with that experience a lot of times when you're starting out, if you do it correctly, is fall back on the knowledge of what the tools you have to work with, the things we've talked about. And when you run into problems with that, go back to what we talked about first before you go watch another video from Bob. Does that make sense? Or, Tim does his mic placement like that. Well, Bob does it like that. Fall back on what we've talked about first and the things I've had you go look at to get a better understanding of what's happening. And you'll find yourself watching a whole lot less of Bob's videos. So I hope that opens up some doors. In the next video, I'm just going to give you my opinion. So I don't know if I'd stick around for that one, because it's always a good one. So anyway, peace, hope, love. I hope that helped a lot. I certainly hope you use those tools. And I hope that it helps you have a really good understanding of what's going on, so that you don't watch a bunch of videos from Bib, Bob, and Timmy, that get you nowhere because you don't have the experience. And rather having all that experience, that you fall back on the knowledge and the tools and the resources that we pointed out for you to use that to make a determination of what you should do, how you should use it, and where you should use it. Peace, hope, love. See you in the next video.